if you could also walk us through how the university, first of all, is preparing the students for the job market, and also what kind of offers and opportunities they are presenting to them.
Yes, with respect to preparing the students for the job market, which I said, so there is a series of activities that we conduct with the students. So let me first give you a little heads up on what exactly we do and from when does it start, right? So the moment a student is enrolled into our course and they land within the country, we have their orientation, which is their first day, where we brief them about the college and those aspects. Post that, we have a 1 month or a 3 to 4 weeks, roughly, accounting to a month. So we have a 3 weeks program, what we call it as a foundation program. Within that foundation program, there are various skills, soft skills, academic skills, which we train our students on. But over and above that, within that program, there is a series of activities that we do, preparing them for all of these, right from how they're supposed to create their own resumes. So we have workshops on resume writing, where students are briefed on how a well-structured resume looks like, what are the key takeaways that should be there, because in a student's resume, it's generally what they have studied, because they would not have any past experience. Then those experiences are generally you don't have anything to mention. So we train them on what are the special skills that they possess, what are the abilities that they have within their learning so far, which will be very exciting to the employers. So how do they identify that, how do they showcase that to the employers? So we do a training on that. While this is a very still a very rudimentary way of job seeking, of having a resume in hand, we also get all our students' LinkedIn profile created. So we have workshops and we have special trainers whom we call in. These are industry people who come in and groom these students in terms of how they need to create a LinkedIn profile. So we have those kind of trainings that we do. Other than that, we also do a lot of workshops through HRs. We call in a lot of HRs professionals, and they train these students on the do's and don'ts of interviewing skills and interviewing etiquettes. How do they present themselves, how do they introduce themselves, how do you answer when you're not very confident of a particular question that's asked, so on and so forth. So we prepare them on those rounds. And then along with that, we also do what is called as mock interviews, wherein we roll out job roles and the student prepares themselves for that job role, and we do interviews for that specific job role. And whoever is taking the interview will ask questions which a general employer would ask, and assess the student and give them a kind of a scoring. And every student has to have a certain benchmark scoring in order for them to be eligible to apply for internships, right? So if, let's say, what happens to those who have not reached to the benchmark scoring, then they undergo through a series of additional trainings, whatever they're lacking in, so that they meet the requirement and they rise up the curve. So these are certain kind of things that we do as a part of student development in the very first month when they come. Okay, they have not started their academics till now. Post this, then for every job role that comes, understanding that these students are fresh and they may not have background and they may not have the right kind of skill sets, and for our hospitality students who have just entered, they may not have the overall food and beverage servicing skills, but we do training workshops for them, so that if at all they want to apply in a hotel and a restaurant, then they have that kind of the required skill sets to go and take up the job roles. One thing is worth mentioning here is if you look at a general study abroad program, you go to any country, You know, whether you talk about US, UK, Australia, Canada, any of these major countries where you go for study abroad, there is always a pattern, and that pattern is that roughly around 80 to 90% of the students, they take up, small time, part time gigs, um, so that their day to day expenses are taken care of, right? And the kind of part time roles that they take up, you would see that it would majorly be in areas like in the teller or in the takeout of McDonald's and Burger Kings and Subways, and those are the kind of areas that they work. While I don't mind to I don't mean to undermine any job role to be that I mentioned, but fortunately, by God's grace, none of our students work in these kind of roles. All our students are working in either the sector which they are studying or in any of the allied sectors within their area of specializations. Okay, so they have the opportunity, and to make this happen, we have a team which we call as the academic synergy. The overall role of this entire team, it's a very massive team, having some staff members here based in UAE, while some of them are there in different parts of the world working remotely as well. Their role is to reach out to all the industry partners, corporate houses in and around UAE, and create tie-ups with them. And the tie-up is not only with respect to internships. The first fundamental requirement of the tie-up is involving these industry partners into our academic teaching and delivery. That is, these corporate houses send in their professionals, their leaders for guest lectures for our students. Some of them are gracious enough to even take certain parts of the module which are very industry specific, core, which I said, how would a faculty who's been a professor for the last 10 years know of the recent trends in the logistics field?
Yes.
That is something which a person who is in the logistics sector would be the right person to come and give you information on that. So we acknowledge that, and hence we collaborate with all of these industry partners, and there's a lot of exchange of learning that happens. Along with that, there are a lot of site visits, workshops that gets planned and worked around, where these industry partners then call in our students to their work, to their floor shops, their workspace, and show them a tour of the place, give them an understanding of how things function on the floor. There are a lot of trainings and certificate workshops that they they execute, which gives the student the right kind of skills needed to maybe apply for another sets of internships if they're looking within the sector. So these are some of the things that we do. And today I can say with confidence that we have more than 120 odd corporate houses of UAE that we have tied up with, and in such a way that we have reached to a position. Earlier when we started, we had a lot of students, and we approached these organizations saying that these many students for this specialization is available for internships, so you can carry out interviews either on campus or at their their offices. Now we've reached to a position where we have vacancies received in advance by these corporate houses, and we tell them that okay, our next intake is in September, so you'll have a 3 months of waiting period. So they plan their entire working and their manpower sourcing and hiring basis on our intake calendars now. And that, I feel, for any university, college, is an achievement by itself. That if their students are well accepted within the industry sector as an intern.
Okay. That's very interesting. Just one small comment regarding what you said, that the company is waiting a couple of months or 3 months. Coming also myself from the corporate world, I can say that this is very Very rare. Let's
Yes,
put it
it
this
is.
way. So it's like you said, it's an achievement by itself. Okay, so I think we managed to go through all the questions today. I don't know if you do have any questions for us, or if you have any message to our audience, to our students watching us today.
Well, I don't have any questions for you.
Okay.
There is something that I would
That's
want
good.
to say to all the prospective students who are even looking or thinking of us as an option for their career. We in the space of education are not only there to ensure that you get the right kind of certification and a paper degree on hand, but we strongly believe in preparing you as an individual, and not only with the skills from a career perspective, but to develop every student from an overall individual perspective, that is including building your right character, build a personality for yourselves, and how to make you from a global learner to a global leader. So that is what is also our tagline, and that is something that we truly believe and we truly live by with every passing day. So looking forward to meet you at our campus.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. It was really a pleasure to meet with you today, to be in the, like I said earlier, in both campuses this week. Thank you for your time. Thank you for all the information that you shared with us. We will, of course, leave the contact of the admission office and the university, both campuses. We will leave them later on in the video. We will also share more content about the university in our social media platforms. So, like I say always, if you are interested in the university, you will have all the contacts, so you can do it by yourself. If you are interested to have the help of our sponsor, Global Plus Agency, we will also leave the contact for the agency to also help you with every step and every process, the application, the visa process, and so on. And I think you already know by now that this also service is free of charge, so you don't have to pay anything to the agency to get the help that you need. We will just or they will just assist you, support you until you get your admission and inshallah your visa as well to the UAE. I think it's a great opportunity to be part of this university of both campuses and all the programs that they are offering, and it's also a good opportunity to study and live in the United Arab Emirates.
Yes.
I think this is the step for the future, like we were talking today, to start to think a little bit outside of the box, not only the Western universities, but maybe something different, but something that will look also interesting on your CV in your career in the future. Mr. Godwin, thank you so much for today. Thank you for being with us, and I hope that we might shoot another video maybe soon, or we might visit you again in the university. Thank you.
Surely, you're most welcome at the campus at any given point of time. And thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak to you and to your audience as well. And it was a lovely conversation. And thank you to you and the Plus team.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Okay, thank you guys, and ma'as salama. See you on the next episode.